Saira will start now.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Koti Koti Pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. Today we have an eminent speaker, Dr. Amey Deshpande, PhD from Sri Sathya Sai Center for Human Values. Brother Amey hails from Maharashtra and was a student of the Sri Sathya Sai Primary School, Prashanti Nilayam from 1990 to 1993. He acquired his bachelor's degree in commerce from Bangalore University in 2000. He then pursued chartered accountancy in Bangalore from 2000 to 2003. During this period, he worked with Hewlett Packard in their financial services center at Bangalore. He was a member of the Bangalore Sevadal and Brindavan Bhajan group from 1999 to 2003. He enrolled for MBA in Finance program at the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in 2003. Thereafter, at Bhagwan's behest, he registered for the MPhil program in 2006 and was awarded the gold medal in 2007 for distinction in MPhil. He completed his doctoral studies in 2016 in the area of corporate strategy from the Department of Management and Commerce in Prashanti Nilayam. He has been a part of the Prashanti Bhajan group from the time he joined Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning for his MBA degree. He has sung in the Divine Presence in the music programs that were put up by the students. His interests also lie in playing the tabla, dholak, and other percussion instruments. He has also sung and played the percussion in the Bhajnavali and Nada Brahmam series of Sri Sai Bhajans. He was blessed to speak in the Divine Presence on many occasions. He has acted in the dramas offered in his Divine Presence in Prashanti Nilayam by the students. For several years, he was involved in directing the dramas put up by the students. Currently, he serves as a resident fellow in the newly formed Sri Sathya Sai Center for Human Values. The center has been started under the auspices of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust and has been mandated to conduct research and training in the field of human values. Also, a special thanks to Kulkarni uncle and auntie for helping us arrange this session. Also, a kind request to everyone to keep your mics on mute. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, shall we start?
Yeah, we can start, brother. Saira.
बाबा आओ मेरे कीर्तन में अंतर्यामी दर्श दिखाओ नैया हमारी पार लगाओ बाबा आओ मेरे कीर्तन में अंतर ज्योति जलाओ स्वामी अंतर ज्योति जलाओ स्वामी जीवन ज्योति तुम हो स्वामी जीवन ज्योति तुम हो स्वामी बाबा आओ मेरे कीर्तन में offering our loving pranams at the lotus feet of our ever-present Swami and invoking his presence and his benediction on all of us. Most revered elders, dear brothers and sisters, a loving Sairam to all of you. I hope that you all are keeping well in this moment. Let us all pray to Bhagwan to bless us all with good health, and not only just us, but all of those who are fighting this battle at the moment. But it is a battle that we will win. It is a war that we will be able to overcome by His grace and our efforts. Brother Tyagarajan had asked me to speak to you all on a very beautiful topic that he himself had chosen. The topic is Bhakt, Bhagwan, Bhakti and Bhajans. What a beautiful topic. In itself, it is complete. There is nothing more to add because the topic itself is so beautiful. I'm reminded of a beautiful dialogue that happens between sage Narada and Lord Vishnu in the Vaikuntha. This dialogue is mentioned in the Bhagavata Purana, the Srimad Bhagavata Purana, which is probably the most venerated amongst all Puranas. It is a Purana that was given by Lord Shukamuni to Raja Parikshit in the last 7 days of his life. And in that, he says that this Kali Yuga is coming. Lord, this Kali Yuga is coming and Dharma is going to decline so much. Nobody is going to follow any yoga, any yaga, any tapas. Nothing of that sort is going to happen. So what is going to happen to humanity? What is the way of deliverance or liberation for this humanity? And the Lord answers, he says that Namasmarana is going to be the only solution, the surest and the easiest solution in this Kali Yuga. So then sage Narada says, but Lord, just through Namasmarana, how will they achieve you? And then the Lord answers very beautifully, something that Swami would often say in his discourses. He says, Naham vasami vaikunthe yoginam hridayena cha mad bhakta yatra gayanti tatra tisthami Narada. Very beautiful. He says, Naham vasami vaikunthe. I don't reside in Vaikuntha. Yoginam hridayena cha. Even in the hearts of yogis, I do not. See, this is a very important statement that the Lord says. He says, I do not even reside in the hearts of the yogis. No, the yogis are the one who are constantly focused on the Lord. The Lord says, even in their hearts, I am not as much as Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti. That is, my devotees, where they chant my name, Gayanti, Tatra Tishtami Narada. He says, I establish myself over there. You know, there is another beautiful saying of our Lord Shirdi Bhagwan. He says, if you look to me, I look to you. You know, we all have heard this. If you look to me, I look to you. Now, I used to always wonder, oh, that means, Lord, only when I look at you, then only you will look at me, is it? Otherwise, by default, you don't look at me, is it? Which means, you know, there is a sense of business dealing over here, isn't it? On transaction, that if you look to me, then I will look to you. Then, you know, the stupid mind, how it runs, no? Then the voice from inside told, Arey, you fool, how do you know that I am looking at you? Only when you look at me, that you come to know that I am looking at you, isn't it? Which means the Lord is looking at us all the time, but we will come to know that the Lord is looking at us only when we look at the Lord. See how beautiful it is that if you look to me, you will come to know that I am looking at you. Actually, I am looking at you all the time. Right? So what we need to do is Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti. When my devotees chant my name, I shall recite. So the point that we have to ask is, Anyway, the Lord is omnipresent, isn't it? Then why does he say that only when when my devotees chant? It means that when my devotees chant, they will experience my presence. I am present everywhere at all times, but only when my devotees chant my name, then they will be able to experience. And that is this beautiful thing of Bhakt, Bhagwan, Bhakti, and Bhajans. This Bhajans is the way to experience the Lord. You know, in Brindavan, in those days, in the Bhagavata Purana, in Brindavan, where the Lord played his Leelas as Krishna, it is said that, he was Lord Krishna was the son of Nanda. Now, Nanda was he was the chieftain. He was the Panchayat Raj, you can say, of Nanda Gaon, which is Brindavan. And so, therefore, there was absolutely no dearth of butter in his house. Correct? And yet, in spite of having plenty and plenty of butter, Krishna would break into other Gopikas' houses and Gopala's houses and steal the butter. Right? So, on this beautiful, Leela that the Lord used to play, so many commentaries have been written. That, why did the Lord have to break into somebody else's house when there was so much butter? In fact, the top class international export quality butter was there in his own house. Isn't it? In fact, Vrindavan was the maximum manufacturer of butter, which used to go to, Mathura, right? So, and all the butter from Vrindavan, all Gopala's house used to actually come to Nanda's house, and from there it used to be dispatched. Okay, means just to give you, modern terminology for logistics, how the supply chain used to happen is that all the Gopikas used to make butter. That butter will come to Nanda's house, and from Nanda's house it used to go to Mathura. So when anyway all the butter is going to come to, to Nanda's house, then why the Lord had to break into somebody else's house? So on this, all the great rishis and the sages and our masters from the Bhakti Sampradaya, they have actually, done a lot of commentary. And some of the beautiful commentaries are as follows. When you see when we have seen so many these days, so many serials will come, no? Paramavatar, Shri Krishna, Mahabharata, Vishnu Puran, hundreds of serials are coming these days. So that is why, you will get to know, you will hear all of this. So what happens over there? When the Lord enters into the house, what typically is happening is that the person who has, kept the butter has kept it right on top. Okay, the Gopalas or Gopikas have put the butter right on top in a pot. And the Lord he is so tiny, he is not able to reach the pot. So what does he do? He makes one pyramid of all other Gopalas. He stands on top, and he finally reaches the pot. And the moment he reaches the pot, what he does is very beautiful. It seems he would take the pot and throw it down. And the entire pot will come tumbling down, and it will break into pieces. Okay, now then the Lord will come down, our Balakrishna will come down, and he will, what he will do? He will start, with his feet, he will start pounding that butter. Okay, and the entire pot would have broken into, hundreds of pieces. So he will remove all the broken pieces, and then he will first jump. They will all celebrate in that butter. And after that, he will take the butter and eat it. That Navanita Chora will eat the butter like that. So for this, some of the great sages have written that this head, our mind is like the pot. And all our achievements is like that butter. And because of all these achievements of all our status and power and wealth and all that, it goes high up. Now, if you want to give that butter to the Lord, if you want to surrender, the first thing he will do is he will get up and he will pull down that pot, which means he will break that pot, he will break our ego, okay, and he will throw out the ego, and that butter, which is all our achievements and all that, he will first stamp it with his leg, right? He will first crush it with his leg, and after that only he will make it ready for palating it. That is, it will become palatable for the Lord only after he churns it with his feet. Right? It seems, it is said that these Gopikas, they wanted the Lord to come into their house. They wanted the Lord to enter into their house so that he will steal butter. In fact, what would happen is they would know that when Krishna is going to come. So what they would do, they will lock the house, okay, and they will stand outside the house, and from outside the house, they will watch how Krishna is entering. See, that is the beautiful relationship of bhakti between the bhakta and Bhagavan. That we have to allow the Lord to enter into our minds. First, we have to purify our minds, just like that, just like the milk is churned into butter. Similarly, this mind of us, of ours, which is filled with so many things, it has to be churned, and out of that comes butter, and that butter is offered as Naivedya to the Lord. And the reason I say this is bhajans is the process of purifying this mind, purifying and offering this mind at the lotus feet. So this bhakti is nothing but if you look at in those days, the gopikas would, curdle the curds to bring out the butter. So if one can say that the pot is our mind, this bhakti is the rod, this bhajan or namasmarana is that rod, is the string with the rope with which we can pull and push and churn continuously. And when that bhakti, the rod of bhakti, it churns our mind, what comes out is the butter, which we can then offer it to the Lord. And so bhajans is that process of churning this mind, this rod of bhakti in our minds. So what we do through the process of bhajans is nothing but churning the mind, purifying the mind so that that butter is ready. Now the one question will first occur is, why do we need to chant? Okay, yes, I understood that namasmarana is all about, churning or purifying the mind. But why should I say it aloud? No, why is it necessary that I have to say Ram, 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 Ram? Why can't I just chant it in my mind? So for that, Swami gives beautiful example. Swami says, this name is like the lamp. So in olden days, there was no electricity, right? So when people would light the lamp in the evening, Shubham Karoti Kalyanam, Arogyam Dhana Sampada, Shudra Buddhi Vinashaya, Deepa Jyoti Namostute. We chant this in the evening when we are lighting the lamp. So when we light this lamp, in olden days, what they used to do is they would take these lamps and they would keep it on the threshold of the house. The umbartha, in Marathi, we call it umbartha, which is the threshold of the house. And the reason that they would do this, Swami says, is that when they would light the lamp at this threshold, it throws light outside the house as well as throwing light inside the house. So you don't have to light two separate lamps. Just by lighting one lamp, it throws light outside as well as inside. Swami says, when you take the name on this mouth of ours, is nothing but the threshold of this body. This house called our body is nothing but the mouth is the threshold. And so when we chant the name of the Lord and keeping it on the tongue, we are lighting the world outside and we are lighting the world inside also. That is why we must chant it loudly. It is not enough if you just chant it mentally, because then it is a very selfish attitude, which is only I want myself to be illumined. I don't want the world to be illumined. If we want the world to be illumined, then we chant, for that sake, we chant the name loudly. How beautiful, isn't it? How simple that Swami can make it. Once Swami was explaining to a set of students, in fact, youth members, he was telling that, in all our senses, we have got these 5 senses, Panchendriyas. Out of all the 5 senses, only 2 senses, okay, namely our eyes and our mouth, have got flaps to close. Okay, for example, ears cannot close, nose cannot close, our touch, we cannot shut it down. There are only 2 senses for which we have flaps, okay, which we can close, namely our eyes and our mouth. Because these 2 are the most important amongst all the senses. Because maximum amount of input goes in. For example, food and whatever we see. For example, right now we are on this cyber satsang, we are able to see, isn't it? So if you cannot, you want to close your ears means you have to shut down, you have to close your ears like this. But if you don't want to see me, you can simply close your eyes. So there is a flap, right? Similarly, if I don't want to talk, I can simply close this mouth and the satsang will be over here only, right? So we can use this. So Swami went on to say that those are the two most important indriyas. Of this, the most out of eyes and the mouth, the most important indriya is the mouth. Why? Because it performs two activities. It does input as well as output, right? So all the input necessary for the body, the entire body, goes in through the mouth. Okay, and all the unnecessary output which comes out is also through the mouth only. No other sense is able to do output. Only mouth is able to do output. And then Swami went on to say that this mouth is the only sense which is the most dangerous of all the senses. You know why? Because it is the only sense which can change truth into untruth and untruth into truth. See, very beautiful point that Swami makes. He says, this mouth is the only sense which can convert truth to untruth and untruth to truth. Because no other sense is capable of telling lies. Only the mouth is capable of telling the truth or the lies. And therefore, Swami said, Maya dances on the tongue of man. This illusion, this Maya, it dances on the tongue of man. And that's why Swami, he used the word, Swami said, she is a nartaki on this jivha, on this tongue, she is a nartaki. And the only way to reduce the impact of this nartaki is to do ulta of nartaki. What is that? Kirtana. The opposite of nartaki is kirtana. And it is only through kirtana that we can remove the impact of this Maya. That is how important it is. And that is why we must chant the name of the Lord all the time loudly. How beautiful. Another very important, very beautiful analogy that Swami says, he says, you're walking and you fall into the well. No, you fall into a ditch, let's say. You don't know, you suddenly fall in the ditch. Now, once you fall into the ditch, can you sit over there and then just say, help, 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 or think about, in your mind, help, 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 help. Can you do that? No. What do? You say, help, help. We shout at the top of our voice, right? Similarly, this jiva has fallen into this ditch called samsara, into this world called samsara, in this ditch called samsara, we have fallen. And so now we have to shout out to the Lord for help. That is why we have to sing it aloud. We have to chant his name aloud. It is not enough if we simply close our eyes and do namasmarana. So this is these are beautiful, like this Swami gives several beautiful analogies on why we have to chant the name of the Lord loudly. So now the second point is, why should we chant it together? Right? Why should, we all have Sai bhajans, and there are bhajans, Sampradaya bhajans is also there. And, even in churches, they sing the Lord's name. In Gurudwaras, they sing the Gurbani. So why this, Sankirtana? Why not I just sit at home and I will chant loudly, I will chant, but I will chant it alone. So here Swami gives a very beautiful analogy. He says, suppose, let us say you are going, from Thane to Pune. Let us say from Thane to Pune, you are going by road. Okay, of course, right now it's not possible because both are red zones. And I hope that this red zone changes into green zone very soon so that you can actually take the journey to Pune. So let us say you are going to Pune and halfway through, it's in the middle of the night, and halfway through your drive, suddenly your headlights, they fail, right? And so it becomes pitch black. Now you are not able to see. Whereas, imagine if there was a convoy of cars. Imagine if there were many, many cars going together. Even if one of the cars' headlights goes off, all the other cars' headlights will help you to reach. Similarly, in why do we come together and do bhajans is, even though for some reason I may not be having that bhava, but when somebody else's bhava can lift me. When we do bhajans together, it has the capability to lift me up, even though I may not be in that position. And that is why oftentimes I'm sure you must have experienced that, you may not be in the best of the moods when you go in for bhajans. Okay. There is some problem at home, let us say, or in the office. Usually in the office, there will be some problem in the office. Boss, तुम्हारा और boss के बीच में कुछ झगड़ा हो गया है, या between you and your colleagues, or some tension, deadlines, this, that. and you come with that, with that feeling too. You come for bhajans, okay, and you're sitting there, and suddenly a beautiful bhajan starts, okay, and suddenly all those thoughts are removed, and you are lifted. Why? You by yourself, it was not, you were not capable of doing that, but somebody else's bhava or the group bhava, it helped you to come out of that, right? That is why it is important to do it in a group. And the sankirtana, the concept of sankirtana is so important. Another, example that Swami gives analogy. He says, a baby, when it starts to take the baby steps, what does it do? It needs to hold on to the finger of the mother or the father or grandfather, isn't it? Without holding the finger, it cannot walk, because it doesn't know how to balance. It is taking so much difficulty. Similarly, when we are taking our first few baby steps on the spiritual path, we need to hold on to the finger of others. So when we join the organization, we are taking our baby steps in the organization towards Bhagwan, towards the spiritual. So in the beginning, we will need this kind of hand holding. So for example, when we see very elderly, very wonderful devotees of the Lord, in the organization, it helps us to take those few baby steps in the beginning. Eventually, yes, we don't need, for example, our Sant Tukaram or Mirabai or Tulsi Das or Tyagaraja, they did not need bhajans. All of, okay, come 7 to 8, on Sunday, let us sit and do bhajans. They did not need that. Okay, because they had reached that level where constant integrated awareness was already there. But to begin with, we need this kind of a sankirtana to come together. Then the next question comes is, okay, why don't we all just come together and simply chant Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vas? Why do we have to put music along with it? Correct? Say the same, for example, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. All of us can chant together, right? But the same thing when we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So why this music? Right? In our Sai Bhajans, you must have noticed that there is Namasmarana along with music. So why music? Why is music so important? They say that music is the language of the emotion. See, when we are, when we have that emotion in us, words are not capable of expressing that emotion as much as music is able to. And let me just give you a few examples over here. For example, let us take this bhajan, and you tell me, or just contemplate on what is the experience you are getting, when we sing something like this. Nandalala, Nandalala, दया करो भगवान, नंदलाला, नंदलाला, दया करो भगवान. Just think about this. Now, same Nandalala, 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 Nacho, 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 Nandalala. Okay, this is the second. Another bhajan. Nandalala, Navanita Chora, Natavaralala, Gopala, Devaki Vasudeva Kumara, Deva Deva Gopala, Nandalala, Navanita Chora, Natavaralala, Gopala. One more bhajan. Nandalala, Shama Sundara Nandalala, Kaustubhadhare Vanamaladhara, Shamala Madana Gopala. See, now what we did over here was, we simply, the same Nandalala word in different, we put different musical notes along with it and see what different emotions were there. Nandalala, so much prayer, so much pathos, isn't it? At least that is what I feel. I'm sure maybe each one of you will feel your own set of emotions. But Nandalala, Nandalala. See, that has one type of emotion. The second type, Nandalala, Nandalala. It has a more happy kind of emotion. Nacho, Nacho. We are feeling like dancing along with Nandalala, isn't it? So this is the power of music. Music has the ability to express our emotion, and that is why bhajans, along with this bhakti, in our journey from Bhakt to Bhagwan, okay, in this bhajans, this music plays a very, very important role. And that is why Tyagaraja in one of his Kirtana says that why get lost in the bylanes? Why get lost in the bylanes when you have the royal highway towards the Lord? And he says that this music, this Sangeetam, is the royal pathway to the Lord. When we are having Eastern Express Highway and Western Express Highway, why will we go through small gully bolis to go to Church Gate, isn't it? To give you from your own Bombay, if I can, pardon me if my analogies are wrong, but when you are having Eastern Express Highway, why should I get lost in, the small gullies and the chaurahas? I will take the express highway, isn't it? That is why Swami says that this bhajans has to be with music, because it gives expression to our emotion. So now we will come to the most important, the part of bhajans, and that is for all we Sai bhajan lovers. What is the real purpose? As we said, between Bhakt and Bhagwan, if bhajans is the way to reach, then what is most important? One third bha. In Bhakt, Bhagwan, bhajans, and bhakti, these are all four bhas. There is one fifth bha, which is more important, which actually is the undercurrent of all of that, and that is bhava. Without bhava, this bhakti is useless. Swami says it is like having no salt in the food. We are having, a grand banquet. Okay, there is, if I can indulge you a little bit, I'm sure it is dinner time, and there must be some dinner, some, cooker must be going on in all your houses. Okay, so let me just indulge your salivatory glands. Imagine if there is, paneer makhan wala, there is navaratna kurma, there is malai kofta, okay, there is nice chapatis, there is sambar, there is rice, all that is there. Okay, that 15 different varieties, starter, and there is dessert and all that. But there is no salt at all. Swami says, is there any kind of, will there be any taste in any of the food? No, right? Similarly, you may have all the beautiful bhajans, you may have all the deities, all different ragas, you will have different speeds and different talas. But if there is no bhava, if there is no bhava in the heart, then there is no use of this bhajans at all. This bhakt will never reach Bhagwan. Right? So that bhava is the salt in our food. And today, that's why we will focus on how to get this bhava. Right? Because if you look at the raga and tala, those are all technical aspects. That is, we have got nothing to do with it. What we can focus on is this bhava aspect. So how to get this bhava? That is the most important. And probably, one of the easiest way to get bhava is try to focus on the meaning of every name. And I will like to narrate my own personal experience. There was a time in 2010 when I was not singing in the mandir, and it was between me and Swami there was some, I would say, क्या बोलते हैं कुछ झगड़ा चल रहा था मेरे और भगवान के बीच में, and that is why I was not singing in the mandir. Swami did not stop me from singing, but I was not singing. I felt that Swami did not want me to sing. And during those times, in fact, it was a very difficult time, for me myself, to not have the opportunity to sing, in the mandir in Swami's presence. But those, I would say today, they were some of the most beautiful days of my life because I started going deep into the bhajans. And, I figured out that when you actually focus on the meaning, what is the meaning of every word, you will come to know that you cannot even complete a bhajan without crying. Because tears of joy and tears of, the gratitude for Swami will come when you start focusing on the meaning of the name. Because such is the power of the meaning of every name of the Lord that we take. Now, let me just give you a simple example. There is this beautiful bhajan, I'm sure you must have all have heard. Giridhar Govind Gopal Ghanshamanand Lala. Right? We all have heard these bhajans. I don't know, for some reason, today I'm selecting all Krishna bhajans. Maybe I should choose some other bhajans also. I'm sure a lot of Shiva devotees and Devi devotees also will be there. But no, in this bhajan, there is a beautiful line which goes, Damodara Janardana Muralidhara Manamohana. So this beautiful, these lines are there. In that, this word Damodara. I'm sure many of you know what is the meaning of Damodara, but let us just contemplate on this Damodara. So Damodara goes back to one of the Leelas of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan when he was a little baby, Bala Krishna, Bala Shama Gopal. It is a time when everybody came and complained to Mother Yashoda saying that, your child is causing so much mischief. He comes into our houses, and again, once again, that was all an excuse to come somehow and have Lord Krishna's darshan. They say that, they wanted to see Lord every time. So how to go? So then go to Yashoda's house and then complain. At least through that process of complaining, we will get the darshan of Lord, no? So that is why they were going. So you see how beautiful it is. So they all came and they complained, and Mother Yashoda was vexed. She had it too much. She said, "You fellow, you have to be taught a lesson." And so she decides to tie him to a drum. We all know the story that there is a drum in the house, and she decides to tie him. And she says that, she threatens him. She says that I will tie you and you will not be allowed to move so that you will not make mischief. And so Mother Yashoda takes a rope, okay, and she goes to tie the Lord. And it is said that the rope falls short. It falls short by, the width of 2 fingers. Okay. She is not able to tie because the rope is little short by the width of these 2 fingers. So then she throws that rope and she takes another longer rope and she tries to tie the Lord. And once again, the rope falls short by the width of 2 fingers. So she throws away that rope and she takes another rope and she again tries. And every time she tries to tie the Lord, it falls short by the width of 2 fingers. And eventually what she says is, what? I don't know what is this Leela. Once again, you're doing some Leela of yours. Lord, I'm not able to tie you. And she says, you tie yourself. No? And so she gives up. And the moment she gives up, the Lord takes and he ties himself. He takes any one rope and he ties, and it is enough. Now on this, there are so many, and that is why he's called Damodara, because Dama means rope and Udara means the stomach. So the one who tied himself around the stomach he's called Damodara. Now, the commentators who have done commentary and our own Swami, how beautifully he explains, what are these 2 fingers? Why did it fall short by 2 fingers? Because Yashoda had Ahankara and Mamakara. Ahankara, the ego that he is my son, and Mamakara, that this boy, that I will tie him is Ahankara, and he is my son, that is Mamakara. This Ahankara and Mamakara are the root cause of all the problems. And as long as we have these 2, we will never be able to bind the Lord to us. Okay, the moment Yashoda, Mother Yashoda gives up and surrenders this ahamkara and mamakara, then the Lord ties himself to the bhakta. So this Bhagavan, he will tie himself to the bhakta if you are able to give up this ahamkara and mamakara. Right? How beautiful is this? Now just imagine every time we chant Damodara, we close our eyes and we recreate that entire scene in front of our eyes. You know, that let us all transport ourselves back into Vrindavan and stand at the doorstep of Nanda's palace. Okay, and we let us see the conversation between Mother Yashoda and Lord Krishna. Right? And we will see this beautiful Leela happening. I'm telling you, the moment you start going into this depth, nothing but tears of joy start to flow. Because that is how powerful these Leelas are. So one word, if you are able to contemplate on the meaning of every word, it is simply enthralling. It is simply overwhelming. That is how we can get bhava. Otherwise, what will happen is, we will keep chanting the name, Damodara, Damodara, Janardana, Muralidhara, Manamohana. We will simply say this, but we will not be able to go into the depth. Right? So like this, every word, and today, thanks to the internet, thanks to YouTube, we have plenty and more of satsangs and great people talking about the meaning of every word. So let us endeavor ourselves to, if you do not know the meaning, for example, the word Niranjan, my cousin's name is Niranjan. I did not know the meaning of this name for many, many years. What is the meaning of Niranjan? Why is it, for example, we say, Alak Niranjana Bhavabhaya Vanjana Narayan, Narayan. So what is the meaning of Niranjan? I did not know this for many, many years until about a decade ago. Somebody explained that Niranjan is the spotless one. The one who does not even have a single spot. Okay, I'm reminded over here, I'm sure you all have heard this beautiful Leela of Bhagavan. Once, Swami had come to the sports ground and he was talking to all the boys about the importance of physical fitness. Okay, and there was one boy who was a 6 foot kind of a 3-inch huge guy, used to go to gym and used to pump, and he was very fit and he was very proud of his fitness. And our Swami, 5 foot 3 inches thin and very very delicate kind of a Swami. So this boy, the moment Swami started talking about physical fitness, this boy thought, see, Swami, he should not talk about physical fitness. Let him stick to his topics, which is Atma, Paramatma, Adhyatmikata and all. Let him stick to that. Leave this physical fitness to us. What does he know about physical fitness? This thought came into his mind. The moment this thought went past his mind, Swami, I looked at him and said, "Hey, kya sochta hai? What are you thinking?" So this boy, nothing, Swami, he said. Then Swami said, "You think what? I don't have strength. You think, you are more strong than me. Chalo, come on. He says, come, let us have a panja. Let us have an arm wrestling duel." So in the beginning, this boy was, you thrilled because he's getting an opportunity to hold Swami's hand, right? But then later on, he thought, my God, if I do something to his hand, I will be finished. The whole Prashant Nilayam will finish me off. Because he thought, Swami is such a short and thin and delicate person. If I just hold his hand will break off. So a table was brought. Swami sat on one side, the boy sat on the other side, and it was one of the classic duels between God and man. Okay, Swami, come on. He held his hand like this and he said, "Chalo, come on, give me your panja." And so this boy, first very delicately he held Swami's hand because he did not want to hurt. And as a few seconds passed, he figured that Swami's hand is actually like a rock. Okay, it is like Vajra. And so he starts to put more and more force, on Swami's hand. And Swami's hand is not moving even a nanometer. Okay, and Swami is looking from the other side, and he's saying, "Yeah, aim, but didn't eat today? No strength, huh? What happened to your strength?" So this boy now he started feeling that, "Arey yaar, ye mera izzat ka sawal hai. I am going to gym for all of this." And so he starts to put his entire strength on Swami's hand, and Swami's hand is not moving even a millimeter. Then Swami says, "If you want, you can use the other hand also." You have two hands. No, if you want, you can use other hand also. So this boy, because he was seeing that it is like a rock, Swami's hand, so he started using both his hand, and still nothing is happening. And then all the boys who were surrounding, no, Swami said, some of you, if you want, you also can join. You can, join him in pushing the hand. And so 3 more boys, they joined in pushing the hand. 5 hands are pushing Swami's hand, and Swami's hand is not budging even a centimeter. And few seconds passed by, and then Swami said, chalu ippudu, means enough now. And then immediately everybody got up, and their hands went like this, because they were seeing a leela. Then Swami, see, this is not important, okay? What is important is what happened after this. So then Swami said, so come on, tell me now, why is it that you are not able to move my hand? So what is our answer? As usual, no, our answer will be, Swami, you are God, Swami, And Swami said, absolutely not. Do you think, Swami said, do you think I have to use my divine powers, to beat you in arm wrestling? Means God comes down in human form and shows off his power on mankind. How? By, engaging people with arm fight. Means he doesn't come down to show off his powers. Since Swami said, I don't need my divine powers to beat you in arm wrestling, man. Okay. Then Swami went on to say, this power, this human body, this power comes from my purity. He said, from the top of my hair to the bottom of my feet, this body has not thought, has not spoken, and has not done any harm to anybody in his entire life. By thought, word, or deed, this body has never harmed anybody. That this strength comes from that purity. And then Swami said, you also can get this kind of purity. He is the spotless one. The one who has, just imagine the purity of the Lord. Not by thought, word, or deed has he caused any harm to anyone. That is why he is Niranjan. The spotless one. See how beautiful. So now you take a story like this and you put it along with the word. And so every time we sing Niranjan, let us contemplate on this story. And let us also endeavor to become like that. That is what Swami is telling us, that we also can become pure. All we need to do is to ensure that by thought, word, or deed. So let us start with anyone. Through deed, I will not harm anyone. See, in this love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. All of us know this. Anybody tells, "Arey yaar, Swami kya bolte hain, jara batao yaar." Immediately, what comes to our mind? Love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. Immediately we say this, isn't it? Very easy. But if you actually think about it, is it possible? All of us saying, oh, love all, serve all, वगैरह वो सब, वो सब स्वामी सिर्फ कर सकता है, ये आमन लोग नहीं कर सकते. मतलब भगवान love all, serve all कर सकता है, लेकिन भक्त भगवान भक्त love all, serve all नहीं कर सकता. How stupid, isn't it? Which means we are telling that Swami has given us something which is meaningless, which is impractical. Basically, we are trying to say. But actually, if you try to think about it, love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. If you look at these, so there is love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. 4 phrases. Think about it, very easy to implement in our life. You know how? Just do ulta of that. How? First, you hurt never. Start with hurt never. Okay? Once we are able to achieve this hurt never, then let us go to the previous one, which is help ever. Okay? Once we are able to achieve help ever, that automatically becomes serve all. Right? Once we are able to serve all, automatically we don't have to worry. The moment we start serving all, we will automatically start loving all. So in this love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never, let us start from back, which is not to hurt anyone. Right? So like this, if you constantly contemplate on the teachings and bring them into bhajans, you can, this beautiful amalgamation will happen, which will bring bhava. So that is one type, which is to contemplate on the meaning of every word. Another technique of getting bhava is, this is a very beautiful technique that was given to us by one Swami Anubhavananda ji. He had come along with us on our Badrinath trip. Excuse me, I'll just drink little water. So he had come along with us on our Badrinath trip, and he told us when we were sitting, and he would do some guided meditation for us. And at that time, he very beautifully he told one thing. He said, in sadhana, the first thing that we should do is we should shut two doors. One door is in front of us, one door is behind us. What is that? What I was doing before sadhana, shut that one door. And what am I going to do after sadhana, shut that door also. Now, I am sure before you got on to this Zoom call, this evening satsang, I am sure somewhere along the way, one thought would have come. अरे 8:30 के बाद क्या करने का है? No, 8:30 के बाद ये करना है, वो करना है, फिर कल मैं ये करूंगा. Yes, believe me, it happens to us also. Whenever we sit for bhajans also, you will notice that automatically one of the first thoughts that come to our mind is, अरे भजन के बाद क्या करने का है? ना, भजन के बाद वो दूध लेके आने का है, वो भाजी लेके आने का है, जाके थोड़ा वड़ा पाव लेके आने का है. Automatically our mind tends to go into what I am going to do after sadhana. Now, because of this, constantly in between the mind goes, it touches that and comes back. So there is constant wandering. Or sometimes what happens is our mind tends to go what I was doing before. I bring my office, or I bring my home, or I bring organization into bhajans. अरे यार वो district president, अरे यार वो state coordinator, अरे वो spiritual coordinator, यही चलते रहता है. So we are not able to shut our mind and focus on bhajans. What we need to do is to shut the mind. So shut our mind from what I'm going to do afterwards and what I was doing before. Automatically that bhava will come. And for that, one very powerful technique, and don't get me wrong when I say this, one very powerful technique is to think that this is going to be our last bhajan. Let us think that this is going to be our last bhajan. Imagine if this was my last bhajan, what will be the bhava that will be there in my mind? Now, that is why we go back to what we were discussing right in the beginning, Bhagavatam. See, that Raja Parikshit, he had 7 days. In fact, Swami says in Bhagavad Vahini, Raja Parikshit was very lucky because he knew that at least he has 7 days. None of us know how many days we have. Right? We don't know. See, this is not a fatalistic kind of thinking. No, let us not take it as a negative way, but as a positive way. We don't know whether we will see tomorrow morning or not. Just, in fact, in Steve Jobs, let me just digress a little bit here. Steve Jobs, in one of his commencement addresses to Stanford University in 2005, if you want, you can go and see his talk. It's a very beautiful talk. It's just 20-minute talk, 2005 commencement address at Stanford University. You can go to YouTube and you can see that. He tells a very beautiful point. He says, every morning, stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself this question. If today was my last day, would I be doing what I'm going to do? Ask yourself this question. He says, if today was the last day of my life, would I be doing what I am going to do? Very powerful question. No? Eventually, he says, one day will be the last day of your life, isn't it? Some day will be the last day of our life. So if we are able to constantly ask ourselves that if today was the last day, what would I love to do? Do that. If it means that I want to talk to my loved ones, let me talk to my loved ones. If it means that let me be lost in Namasmarana, let me do Namasmarana. If it means that I want to read something very, very important because today is the last day, let me do that. See, that is how automatically bhava will come. I am reminded of a very beautiful incident that happened in our Samiti in Dubai. Of course, we were in Abu Dhabi, but there was one Nandedkar ji. He was once again from Nanded, needless to say. He had come to Abu Dhabi. He was a fantastic harmonium player. And, he had spent many years. He had worked in Qatar or Oman, I think one of the places. And then he had come to Abu Dhabi. He was a fantastic harmonium accompanist. And only after many years of coming to Abu Dhabi, somebody told him about Sai Bhajans. And so he started coming for Sai Bhajans, and he was a wonderful devotee. Within months, because he was a harmonium player, so he would come and he picked up many bhajans he picked up. I remember one of his favorite bhajans was Jaya Sai Isha, Jaya Saisha Radha Madhava Jaya Partisha. This was his favorite bhajan. And he would come for after he joined the organization, not even a single day he missed bhajans. He would come for a practice and very, very wonderfully, wonderful person, very soft-hearted. Immediately after the bhajan gets over, Sairam, and he will go. No talking. Never we have heard him speak ill about others. Nothing. Many years passed, and he would always say, "अरे यार, मैं थोड़ा late आ गया भगवान के पास." थोड़ा देर हो गया, मैं देरी से आ गया मैं भगवान के पास, भगवान ने मुझे क्यों जल्दी नहीं बुलाया. And we would always tell him, my parents would always, अरे नांदेड़कर जी आए तो सही, छोड़ देना ना, whether you have come late or not, you have come, that is most important. you know he eventually moved to Dubai on a job. And he started going for bhajans there also. He was allowed to play harmonium. One day, I don't remember the year, I think it was year 2000 or 2002, if I'm not mistaken. He sang the beautiful bhajan, Partishwari Jag Janani. Okay, in the middle of the bhajan, on a Thursday evening, the bhajan is going on. He finished singing his bhajan and he just fell down. And he breathed his last on the harmonium. And when we heard this, we felt, oh, what a blessed soul. It is. I always pray to Swami every single day that I should have that kind of death, Swami. जाना हो तो ऐसा जाना है कि नहीं? मतलब भजन जैसे, the Lord's name is on our lips, and we simply lie down and that's all. Anasayena maranam. So to remind ourselves, and therefore Swami often tells that, see, that kind of a death, unless you have practiced it, it will not come. No, because that the Lord, he says, he's not like a photographer who will come and say, smile, okay, come on, smile, and then he will not click. Death is like that, photographer who will simply come and he'll lick. At that time we should be smiling, sai on our lips, right? So for that constant namasmarana should be there. So one of the ways is to, whenever we go for bhajans, okay, can we think that, Swami, this is my last bhajan? Automatically bhava will come. So this is one more way of getting bhava. Please remind me, it's almost 8 o'clock, it's almost an hour. I'll take maybe another 10 to 15 minutes if that is okay. Tyagarajan brother, is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Right. So another beautiful way of getting bhava in bhajans is by knowing the stories. And see, this is where these kind of satsangs are very useful. I'm not saying only this kind, but all kinds of satsangs. All the time, keeping an atmosphere of satsang is very, very important, because what it does is we listen to a lot of stories and then we are able to connect the story and the bhajan. So when we do our sadhana, when we do our japa, when we do our bhajans, we are able to take some stories. So there are so many beautiful stories which are associated with our Sai bhajans also. If you are able to know some of these stories, it will be very, very useful to get bhava in bhajans. I'm reminded, this is a beautiful incident that happened. It happened in the late 80s. There was a brother called Kumar, and he used to live. For those of you who have come to Prashanti Nilayam, right next to Mandir there is East Prashanti, and in East Prashanti there is, so it is called E and A1. So the room number A1, the first room on the corner room, used to be his room where his parents used to stay. It was a time when Swami used to speak to him very often, but it was a time, a period, and every student goes through that period when Swami does not speak to that student. So he was going through one of these periods when Swami was not speaking to him. Swami was upset with him for some reason. And one day when he was coming towards the mandir from the hostel, as he was going to enter mandir, his father pulled him and took him to his room. Okay, and when he entered his room, he found that all doctors were, standing around his mother's bed. Okay, and his mother had breathed her last. Mother had passed away. And it was a shock out of bolt from the blue. Doctor said that she has breathed her last, and you better tell Swami now immediately. So this boy, he saw the condition and he immediately ran into the darshan grounds. And by the time he had entered into the darshan, darshan had already completed and Swami had gone into the interview room. So he simply sat near the interview room, near the bhajan hall door, waiting for Swami to come out. And he was telling that, usually an interview would go on for 45 minutes. But that day the interview continued for 1.5 hours. And the time was going because there is only a particular time in which, something can be done. That is what he thought. And so mentally, he thought that anyway, Swami is not talking to me. He probably will not even come towards me, you know. So he had mentally made up his mind. He started making a list of all the things now that need to be done. He said, all the telegrams that he has to send to all the relatives, and from where to get the firewood for the funeral, and where to get the tractor, and all those things he was thinking about. Eventually, bhajan started, and he sat in his place. Swami had still not come out of the interview room, and sitting over there, the thought he felt was, I have lost my mother today. And so let me sing to Swami. He wanted to sing this bhajan. Sai Pitar Mata Sai Deen Dayala Data Sai Sai Pitar Mata Sai. So this bhajan, because he wanted to tell Swami, you are only my mother and father. So the bhajan started. He was going to sing second or third bhajan, and as his bhajan started, Swami came into the bhajan hall. Swami sat over there, and the moment he started singing the bhajan, Sai Pita or Mata Sai, he started. Swami got up and went off. So now in his mind, he's thinking, "Arey yaar, ye kya? Itna khunnas, Bhagwan ka itna khunnas. Today I've lost my mother, and so I wanted to pray to Swami. Swami does not even want to accept my prayer." What he did not know, that Swami had got up, okay, and gone straight to the room, that EA1. He went to the room, and when he went over there, all the doctors are, standing around. And Swami said, kya? What is happening? What are you all doing here? As if he does not know. And then they all said, Swami, she passed away. Then Swami said, no, she cannot pass away. And so Swami took some water in one spoon and poured it into the mouth. And usually what will happen? Water will come out. And it came out. So the first spoon when Swami poured, nothing happened. Water came out. Second spoon Swami poured, water came out. Third spoon Swami pours and the water goes in. Okay, and just at that time, on the screen, the pulse came back, into the body. Swami had put life into the body, and then Swami said, now I have done my job. Now you take her to GH and you do your job. And so her body was taken to GH, General Hospital, and she recovered. And Swami himself said, in the Guru Purnima discourse of that year, Swami said, the moment this boy started chanting Sai Pita or Mata Sai, only I came to know that there is some problem, because so much bhava was coming. See, each one of us, we have some problems or the other in our life. Can we simply sing Swami Sai Pita or Mata Sai? Right? So if you are able to, we know this bhajan and we know the story behind the bhajan, right? It will help us to bring bhava. Right? So I would just like to end with this one beautiful incident that happened. Once one of our elders, he had asked Swami, we know that you love us so much, but how do we know that we love you? No, we think that we love you, but what is the concrete evidence that we love God? No, I felt this was a very beautiful question, because many times this thought has come to my mind. How do we know that we love Lord or not? And Swami very beautifully he answered, when you have tears, when you listen to the story of the Lord and tears flow down from your eyes, know that you have love for God. The day when you listen to the glory of God and tears don't come into your eyes, know that there is something wrong. तुम्हारा हृदय इतना कठोर बन गया है that even tears are not coming when you are listening to the glory of God. Right? So how do you know we love God? See, tears doesn't mean physical tears. No? It means that horripilation. It means that those emotions of absolute positivity, when they come into our eyes, when we listen to the glory of God, then we know that we have love for God. Right? And what bhajans does is it makes this heart soft. It makes it like butter, so that this Navanita Chora will come and he will steal this heart of ours. And that is what we want, isn't it? We want to offer so that he will partake this. I will just end it on this one instance, this one incident that happened with us in Kodaikanal 2005. And I had the privilege to travel with Swami to Kodaikanal. So in Kodaikanal, typically what happens is that we spend a lot of time with Swami, very lot of physical intimacy from early morning 6 o'clock. The first darshan immediately as soon as so of course Swami has his bath very early at 4:30, but at 6 o'clock he will come out. Okay, and we will very fresh. So you right from 6 o'clock in the morning right up to evening 7-8 o'clock, 12-13 hours we will be with Bhagwan. So there will be so many things that will happen. There will be talks, Swami will give speeches, other people will give speeches, there will be songs, there will be drama, there will be bhajans. So many things will happen during the day. And different days, different things will happen. One day, Swami will go somewhere, we will travel with Swami. Like that, so many things will happen. So one day, Swami told all of us after the evening bhajan, Swami said, sing some bhajans, sing some songs. So we all had prepared some group songs, which we used to sing, 7-8 songs. So we all started singing that. Soon, our 7-8 songs ka quota khatam ho gaya. And usually what used to happen is bhajans will get over by 6 o'clock. Swami will have his dinner by 6:15, 6:30 only. So sometimes between bhajans and dinner, we will have one session. So this was that session. Bhajans had got over by 5:45. Swami will have dinner by 6:15, 6:30. So between 5:45 and 6:30, 45 minutes, we were having this program, this impromptu group songs program. But Swami is sad, he was sitting and he was listening to the songs, and pauna ghanta ho gaya. Swami kept on, he will simply, he will get up and he will, after one song gets over, he will say, one more song. So like that, he kept on asking, so 6:30 over, 7 o'clock over, 7:30 over, 8 o'clock over. 1.5, 2 hours continuously we were singing songs. And all the elders, Ratan Lal, Auntie Ji and all, they were telling, "Arey yaar, band karo, Bhagwan ko khana khana hai yaar. Tum log kya gana ga?" So we are telling, "Arey yaar, hum log, we are not continuing. Swami is asking us to, continue singing songs. What can we do?" Then what happened at exactly at 8 o'clock, that there was a cuckoo clock. There is a cuckoo clock in Kodaikanal, in the living room where Swami, So at 8 o'clock, that cuckoo came out and, it started making that sound, that cuckoo like that. So the song had just got over and that cuckoo clock made the sound. And that is what caught Swami's attention. So 8 o'clock, he suddenly looked at the clock and he said, 8 o'clock ho gaya. So then we all said, Swami, aapke dinner ke liye bahut late ho gaya. Swami, your dinner is very late. Imagine some person who eats at 6:30, 8 baj gaya. And then Swami immediately said, chalo, utho, chalo, go for dinner, like that he said. And then so we all said, Swami, you go, you have to have dinner. And then Swami made a very beautiful statement. He said, आज स्वामी को खाने का जरूरत नहीं है. तुम्हारा इतना अच्छा गाना हो गया, स्वामी का पेट भर गया. Right? That you sang with so much devotion that my stomach is full. They say usually the way to somebody's heart is through the stomach. They say that the way to somebody's heart is through the stomach. You fill up the stomach, the heart will be full. But for Swami, it is the other way. The way to Swami's stomach is through his heart. You fill his heart and his stomach will be full. Right? Right now, all of this is dinner time. All of us are waiting to fill our stomach. But in our heart, our Swami is residing. Can we sing that kind of bhajan which will fill up the heart of our Swami? And once his heart is full, his stomach is full. I remember that day, Swami did not have dinner. Swami went away, he retired without having dinner only. Why? Because his stomach was full. So even while now we all sit for our dinners and we bring this day to a close, let us, through our bhajans, through our bhakti, let us fill up the heart of our Lord. When we fill up his heart, the entire world's heart and world's stomach will be full. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my thoughts with all of you. Let us all, for 5 seconds, just for 5 moments, let us close our eyes. And let us all radiate our energies. Let us radiate the love and the energy we have in our heart. Let us channelize the energy of Bhagavan to all of those who are suffering around the world. Let us channelize our energies to all the doctors, to all the nurses, to all those patients, to all the loved ones, to all those relatives of those who have lost someone of theirs. Let us pray that this entire world is in peace. This entire world enjoys good health. Let us all lead a dharmic life. Let us all lead a life full of bhakti. समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, sir.